I think about them from time to time, because there are deities in Lakta, the Mat. And Guru Maharaj mentioned something once very interesting. All the deities are different. And they have their own personalities and likes, dislikes. And it was in relation to a story where someone was buying something for the Radharani at the Bagh Bazaar Mat. Like why it was only for her and not another Radharani at another Mat. You know? It's peculiar. Because Kirchor Gopinath, Gopal, Srinathji, Madhavendra Puri's Gopal, told Madhavendra Puri in dream, you can give to Gopinath. I'll be happy if you do that. So we can say, well, if Gopal appears to you in a dream and tells you to give to Gopinath, you can do that. The Mahaprabhu deity that's in Guru Maharaj's Samadhi, so extraordinary that originally he was kept on the central altar with Sri Sri Guru Gauranga Gandharva Govinda Sundar. And Gurudev said, Mahaprabhu there complained. And said, like, he needs his own place. Third person. You have first person, second person, third person. Why not? If you read the Bhagavatam, Brahmeti Paramatmeti Bhagavaniti Shabhyate, so something saying, Param Brahma, Param Dham, Pavitram, Paramam Bhavan. So he's saying, I am the Param Brahman, I'm the Paramatma. But since he's Bhagavan Sri Krishna, he may say sometimes, the yogis, they're meditating on the Paramatma. But you know, you can say, they're meditating on my feature as Paramatma, but he doesn't. But I remember once asking a god sister, senior god sister of mine, many years ago when I first joined in New York, and discussing Bhagavad Gita. She's a dear disciple of Srila Prabhupada. And the slokas where we say like, Manmana Baba Mad Bhakto Madjajimam Namaskuru, or Sarvadar Mam Paritaja Mam Ekam Sharanam Braja. We're having a discussion about how we know that Mam means Krishna. And I was at the Calcutta Book Fair some years back, and which is a huge international book fair actually. And I saw the Bhagavad Gita at one book stand of, I believe it was Dr. Radha Krishnan, used to be the former president of India. And Prabhupada used to rail against some of the things that he would say and his purports. So I thought, I just want to see, because there's this one thing Prabhupada said that he said, and I wanted to see like, is that exactly how he said it? And it was like practically to the word. And then I could understand why it made Prabhupada so livid. He said, in the Manmana Bhava Mad Bhakto section, where Krishna said, think of me, become my devotee, give up everything, surrender to me. His explanation, right, the Tatparja, you know, the meaning, he says, it is not to the person, Krishna, to whom we are to give ourselves up to utterly, but the unborn, impersonal, who's speaking through Krishna. Those are his exact words. And that would just make Prabhupada furious to hear those things. Right, where Krishna is saying, surrender to me. It's not, when he says me, he doesn't mean himself. He means the unborn, impersonal that's speaking through him, who's also speaking through you and me. Like they would say, if God is everywhere, why do you have to go to the temple? And Prabhupada said, so you mean he's not in the temple? He's everywhere but the temple. Is that what you mean to say? You know? So it reminded me again, in the temple where Krishna was living, that some Indian man came by and he had some appreciation for the Sanskrit language. And we started talking about the word lotus. Like, you know, Ambuja, Padma, Kamala, Pankaja. What are other words for lotus? Aravinda. Huh? Nalina. Right. So, and he was kind of ecstatic, like, oh, it's just so wonderful, the Sanskrit language. And I said, yeah, and each time some word is used, it's not arbitrary or just poetic license, but very often the word that's been selected has been, precisely because as a precise, accurate representation of a particular thing is said. And I wasn't trying to start a fight with him or anything, or just be smart. But I just said, like, it just came to my mind, that old conversation I had with my god sister 20 years before. I said, like when Krishna says, Saradar Mom, surrender to me. It's so simple, And that man, we just went through a dozen meanings or vocabulary of lotus. And I said, when he says surrender to, Sarvadharma, surrender to me, he goes, oh, I don't know so many things. I said, oh, really? You know 12 different meanings, words, substitute for lotus, but where it says mom, me, I don't know so many things. So, what does Krishna say about that? In Bhagavad Gita, avajananti mam mudha manushim tanam asritam param bhavam ajananto mama bhuta maheswaram. People who think I'm just a man talking here on a chariot to my friend, what are they? Asses, mudha. Namam duskritino mudha. And those people, prapadyante, they never surrender to me. Because, why? Ichad vesha samutvena danda mohena, they're envious of me. So it's one thing for them to say, they can't imagine that the original source of everything is personal, the personality of Godhead. But really, if you dig a little deeper, it's that if it's true that it's a person, then what will your relationship be? One of equals? How many universes did you create recently? Someone could say, well, one a long time ago. It's been downhill since then, right? So, ahang sarvasya prabhavo mattak sarvam pravartate. You're saying, I'm the source of everything. Everything comes from me. So whether it's the Brahman conception, Paramatma, Bhagavan, and all varieties of Bhagavan, Lakshmi Narayan, Sita Ram, Rukmini and Dwarkanath, Mathuranath, right? Brajendra Nandan. What do you think I'm going to say next? Rai and Khan. So, Srila Saraswati Thakur is talking about gradation. Because Guru Maharaj, it's in Prapanna Jivanamrita, one of the purports, Saraswati Thakur is saying, Vrindavana hoite shrestha govardhana shoila, Gandharvika giridhari jatakridda koila. That's superior, Govardhana Shrestha, superior to Vrindavan pastimes or Govardhan pastimes. Sometimes Govardhan taken to be the representation of Krishna. But superior to that, Radha Kunda, Radharani's representation. But then Guru Maharaj said, and Saraswati Thakur, going deeper, saying, and then there's pastimes on the Tata, on the banks of Radha Kunda, and pastimes in the water of Radha Kunda. So how much gradation is there in the spiritual world and in spiritual representation? So what we're keen to notice is Krishna may speak in so many different ways about himself, and they're all accurate, of course, But when we want to know him, as they say, up close and personal, then really that sort of vision we're going to get from his devotees. Right? Although he does say he's everything. That's sometimes Guru Maharaj would use that to indicate the superiority of Krishna conception. He's saying, no one makes the same claims Krishna does. Like when he turns to Arjuna, he goes, Arjun, I'm everything. Do you know that? I'm everything. And Arjun's saying, I know that, and I'm really sorry in the past sometimes being a little too friendly with you since you are everything. And Krishna's saying, well, let me tell you something else. I actually enjoy when you forget that I'm everything and just deal with me in a friendly way. That gives me great happiness. That's what's so beautiful about Krishna conception. Otherwise, no wonder people don't like God. They think like God is this arrogant person owning, controlling everything and just punishing people because he's bored or has nothing better to do. That's not the Krishna conception. Krishna's waiting for give his devotees his loving embrace, as in the return of Gopakumar to the spiritual world. Sometimes Guru Maharaj, paraphrasing Krishna, saying, after he wakes up from fainting, he's so happy, fainted upon the arrival of Gopakumar, and he's saying, how could you stay away from me for so long? In restless anticipation, I await your return. And he also gives an indication. He said, but when this lifetime came, and I had some idea that this would be the lifetime, my anticipation, I couldn't contain myself waiting for you. That's Krishna. That Krishna who can reciprocate every atom of every heart's hankering simultaneously. Prati anga lage kande prati anga mor. Akila rasamrita murti Krishna. We have to remember when we think that, he's rasa personified. Let me say, well, there are many different types of rasas. Yes, so he has his many avatars, incarnations, expansions to accommodate everyone. Even Rupa Goswami and the brother Anupam and Murari Gupta, who's taken to be Hanuman, when they're in Gaura Leela, in one instance, Mahaprabhu preaching to Murari Gupta, and the other Rup, maybe Jiva, Anupam, and they're unable to convert them. It's a very beautiful thing, actually. And they're saying, Murari Gupta says, my heart is sold to the lotus feet of Ramachandra. I can't withdraw them. And what does he think? I have to report to Mahaprabhu tomorrow morning. Before the sun rises, if I die, that would be good for me. That's the only solution. Maybe I'll die before the sun rises. But the sun rises and he does not die, and he presents himself to Mahaprabhu and explains, I understand everything you're saying, theoretically and beyond theoretically. I love it, I appreciate it, but I cannot withdraw the lotus feet of Ramachandra from my heart. And what is Mahaprabhu? Is he upset? No. He laughs, smiles, and he writes on his forehead, Ramdas. Like, you're hopeless. But in the best possible way. And so who is he? He's the Asraya Vigraha of Dasya Rasa. So even the Braja Gopis, those in the, by analysis, who we can say are in higher positions, they're worshiping the type of devotion that Hanuman has. This is the way the higher servitors are. They're not discriminating against the others as being lower. They admire them. They're looking at their devotion, the devotion of Hanuman, the Prahlad, his determination and how under all circumstances he never forgets his Lord. They're appreciating the qualities of all these different devotees. They're not this analysis that we sometimes engage in carelessly. They never do. When some devotees were carelessly representing things they heard from Srila Guru Maharaj, I mean, I'll include myself at times, try and remind myself to be cautious about it. But so they were presenting something like that, how Madhura Rasa is superior to Vatsalya Rasa. But the way it was coming out was as a slight toward Yashoda. Whereas, and the Sarartha Darshini Tika of Vishwanath on the 10th canto, when he, out of necessity, again, service necessity, he's in a charja giving explanations on the inner meaning of the scriptures. He'll say, why Yashoda's position is more fortunate than Devaki. He'll give one example of that and then say, it's not possible to discuss this further, and I'm not going to, because he doesn't want to risk the offense. So when Guru Maharaj heard that in his name, this careless application of rasa analysis was being employed, he said, my heart is mortified to hear these things. And he said, beautifully, he said, every morning when Srimati Radharani awakens, he said, the first thing she does with some of her group members, they go to the doorstep of Nanda Bhavan and they give their dandavats to Yashoda. Because they think, without Yashoda, there's no Krishna. He said, that's who they are. That's how they operate. They're bowing at the footstep of Yashoda. Yashodava Mahabhaga Stanam Papo Yasya Stanam Hari. Nanda Kim Akarod Brahmam Shreya Eva Mahodayam. Where Pariksit Maharaj is hearing all these things from Sukadev, it's not awakening offensive discrimination in him, but rather it's awakening a careful appreciation in him of others. There's a big difference. So when he hears about Nanda Maharaj, the 10th canto is making its ascent. So we're hearing the devotion of Devaki and Vasudev to Nanda Yashoda. And so when he thinks like Krishna is putting the padukas of Nanda Maharaj, his slippers, on his head and bringing them to his father, Pariksit Maharaj is melting. He's thinking, how sweet. What type of God conception is this? God, he's carrying the shoes of his devotees on his head. Yashoda is calling sadhus to bless Krishna. She's taking the feet dust from sadhus and sprinkling it on Krishna's head for his protection. So when Pariksit Maharaj hears this, Nanda Kim Akarod Brahman Sreya Eva Mahodayam. What did he do, this Nanda Maharaj, to achieve this type of position? We already know in a general sense what yogis, tapashis, jnani, what they do. And that's not nothing. Giving up the world and exclusively Brahman Upasam Ashrayam, that's the noblest struggle, the noblest fight, the greatest achievement. But it doesn't end there. So he's saying, they consider themselves most fortunate if in their heart they have a glimpse of the Paramatma. But here, beyond the Paramatma, and subjective world, super subjective, super subjective, the Aprakrita Leela of Vrindavan, Krishna is doing these what did that Nanda Maharaj do? And then it's indicated a little bit finer, But as exalted as his position is, as fortunate as he is, Yashoda's position is even greater. Right? Yashodava Mahabhaga, greater fortune does she possess. Right? Stanam yasya, papo yasya, stanam hari. Krishna is on her lap, sucking her breast. He's saying, this is inconceivable to me. How did they achieve these positions? And what it allows for is that the stage be set. Who is Krishna? Who are his devotees? What is Vrindavan? What is this place at last we've reached where Krishna will not only appear, but having manifest his childhood pastimes with Nanda Yashoda, then, baby, then the childhood pastimes with the cowherd boys, and then the Kishore pastimes with Brajagopis. But those Brajagopis, what do they think? We're told by Chakrabarti Thakur and others that they're thinking like, oh, I wish I was a cowherd boy. Then we could go play with Krishna in the forest in the daytime. But now we have to wait for him to come back, and then they rendezvous in the evening in the morning. But they're thinking, it would be so cool to be a cowherd boy. They're thinking that would be a better position. So Rupa Goswami says, one of the symptoms of devotion is to always appreciate the devotion of other devotees. But that's a loaded statement too. So where do we find the greatest type? If we're going to appreciate devotion, then where are we going to find the greatest type of devotion? In the Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, on the section on Rasa Bhas, if someone makes a seemingly devotional expression towards the Brahma aspect, it's considered incompatible, Rasa Bhas, inappropriate. Same thing towards Paramatma. So we're talking minimally Bhagavan. But when we reach that realm, Bhagavan, Lakshmi Narayan, etc., in very simple way, we're shown who possesses the superior devotion. And it goes in both directions. The object devotion as well as the possessor of the devotion. And quite simply, when Krishna shows forearm form to the Brajagopis, we're told, Rago Daya Kunjati, their hearts are disappointed, full of disappointment. Because then what does that tell us? There's some sort of devotion in their heart that cannot be fulfilled when expressed towards Vishnu, Narayan. What is it? Of all the things that it can be, what is so unique to them that they alone possess that, and no one can be the object of that devotion other than Krishna? Sometimes Guru Maharaj will remind us, there's only Krishna Prem. Prem is actually only, there's no Vishnu Prem or Shiva Prem or any other type of Prem. There's only Krishna Prem. And we can say by extension, Gaur Prem. Right? This is the only place where it's appropriate to use this word, Prem. It's not used towards any other god or any other expansion. Then other things, Vishnu Bhakti, the different types of devotion. But Prem really is Premanjana Churita Bhakti Vilochanena Santak Sadeva Hridayeshu Vilokayanti. Yang Shama Sundaram Achintraguna Swarupam. Govindam Ari Purusham Tamaham Bhajami. So we told the other day, when Ramananda detects that Gauranga is Krishna, well, at first he's sort of discovering his identity. And it says, Gaura, Ange, Nahi, etc. Mahaprabhu says, actually, I'm not golden. You're right. No, you're Gauranga. He said, no, actually, I'm not by my own nature. He said, but by Radha Sparshe, by the touch of Srimati Radharani, I've become golden. This is how he's revealing who he is. So you have a person who's saying, I'm not Gauranga, I'm not Gaura Anga, but by Radha Sparshe, I became Gaura Anga. And then to spell it out clearly, he says, whom does she touch? Whom does she embrace? There's only one person she embraces. Brajendranandan Krishna, Shyamasundar Krishna, only that person. So he's telling him, Indra, that's who I am. But by her touch, by her loving embrace, I've become Gauranga. Gauranga Sundar, but I'm normally Shyamasundar. So, and to put a fine point on here, that Radharani and her group, the Braja Gopis, when they meet Dwaraka Krishna, they're disappointed. Not just Narayana Vaikuntha, to take it even to another level, Dwaraka Krishna cannot satisfy what's in their hearts. So it's a way of telling us, they've got the greatest devotion, asamaho charanarenu jashamahangsham, brindavane kimapi gomilatosadinam. That's why it's important that this comes from Uddhava, because Uddhava is in the best position to make this statement. And if you look in Brihad Bhagavatamritam, when we go from, this world to, the Brahmins and Allahabad, to the South Indian king, the king of Puri, Indraloka, Brahmaloka, Shivaloka, Prahlad, Hanuman, the Pandavas, the Yadavas, the best of the Yadavas, and this is Sanatana Goswami. He is in Guru Maharaj's word, not only Sambandhagyan Acharya, he said, the Bhakti Siddhanta Acharya. We learn what is Bhakti Siddhanta from him. And in another place, what does Guru Maharaj say? Krishna is Siddhanta. It's not some peripheral aspect of Krishna consciousness. It's identical to Krishna. Right? It's understanding who and what Krishna is substantially. So that Uddhava, because when all the Yadavas are there in the Sudharma assembly, and they're all looking at this one doorway, and we're told Krishna has not risen yet, he's late, right? And you can imagine what it's like. We know when if you've ever been at an arrival, well, I know with the Prabhupada airport arrivals, when everybody's waiting for Prabhupada to step off the elevator, or it would be insane. The amount of intensity expressed towards the doorway, knowing that he's going to come through there. So what to speak of Krishna? So they're riveted to the door that he's going to come through. And is that superior to the yogis meditating on the Paramatma in their hearts? To look at a door in Dwaraka? Might that be superior than seeing the lotus feet of Paramatma? So, but when Narada is praising them, they're saying, yes, but you should be praising one person who's not in this room right now. Well, who would that be? His name is Uddhava. We're all here on this side of the door. He's in there on the other side of the door. And that's when Narada finds Uddhava. Remember, the first 7 chapters in this way, the second 7 chapters in this way. And when Narada is praising Uddhava, that Uddhava, who it says in the Bhagavatam, right? Na tata priyatama atmayonir na shankara, na cha sankarshana sri naivatma chalyata bhavan. Krishna, from no less than Krishna himself. There is no one more dear to me than not Atmabhu Brahma, not Shiva, not Sankarshan, not Lakshmi, Uddhava. He's more dear to me than my own self. that Uddhava, from the mouth of that Uddhava comes the Asam Aho Charanareno Shloka, praising the feet dust of the Brajagopis. Whereas Brahma, in his prayer, says, Tad Buri Bhagyam Iha Janma Kimapyatavyan Yad Gokulepi Karamangri Rajobhishekam. He's praising the feet dust of the Brijbasis. These slokas are very similar, actually. But Chakravarti Thakur points out, but Uddhava is saying, of the Brijbasis, more specifically, Radharani and Vrajagopis, their feet dust. So he establishes their supreme position. So they who cannot tolerate the blinking of an eye, the separation of Krishna for the blink of an eye, they cannot be accommodated by Dwaraka Krishna. Uttara, hearing from Parikshit Maharaj, the Brihad Bhagavatamritam, at the end of the first half, she says, this is so wonderful what you've described, but when I hear of the devotion, Nanda, Yashoda, Sri Balsudam, Radharani, Brajagopis, I don't see how they could be accommodated in Vaikuntha. Is there some other world beyond that where they reside? And that's what the second half is called Goloka Mahatmyam, and follows a similar structure. So that Krishna, Swayam Bhagavan Krishna, at the right hand of Radharani, he is Akila Rasamrita Murti, accommodating everyone. So sometimes he may speak about his other positions in the third person, or it sounds as if he's talking about someone else. And in a sense, it is. It is and it isn't. As we say, same, but different. Right? Achintya Beda Bed. As we told the other day, Lakshman or Balaram revealing Nityananda, saying, of all of our pastimes, where I'm older brother, I like those. And Ramayana, I'm the younger brother, and that's problematic for me. Because when you're banded, I can't tolerate this. But because I'm your younger brother, I can't do anything about it either. And that just is, it's a lot of surrender for me to participate in the Ramayana, I'll tell you that. There's a plane where someone can express something like that. Right. So they can talk about their different positions. Nityananda can, what does he say to Balaram and Krishna on the throne? Like, your day is gone. Come down, get off that throne. What are you doing up there? Like if we saw someone standing on the shore, what are you doing on the Shringasan? Saying, your time is over. Don't you know that? So now the time, my Gauranga has come. He's telling Krishna and Balaram to get off the Shringasan. And he's one of them. Achintya. I used to have this expression. What do you give the man who has everything? Your heart. Love and devotion. Patram pushpam palam toyam yome bhakta prayachiti. Tadaham bhakti upahritam ashnami prayatatmanaha. And Guru said, offer with love and devotion. He'll accept with love and devotion. Guru says, give heart and receive heart. That's the most wonderful thing about Krishna consciousness. Not anticipating something else. Give heart, receive heart. To know that Krishna could actually care about us is inconceivable. Das kori beton mori deho premadan. His coin, Krishna, his way of reciprocating is heart. Other things are given, what is it? Mukti, dadati, karhitchit, smana bhakti yogam. He may give mukti easily, but not bhakti. Because bhakti, ahang bhakta paradino hyasvantantra iva dvija. It's as if he loses his independence and he comes under the control of that devotee. That's Krishna conception, unique aspect of Krishna conception. Vishnu and Lakshmi, they could play like that for Gopakumar once, when he thought, I'll dress like a cowherd and you be Radharani, a gopi. And Gopakumar, for a while, he thinks, this is really nice, but then he's like, no, it's not the same. It's a show. So Guru Maharaj will say, Yashoda, we don't think of her as a charja material, a big guru in this line. What he's saying, Yashodava Mahabhaga, what? Who is she? What did she do to achieve this position? And Guru Maharaj says, if from time to time some expression comes from the heart of Yashoda, like a volcanic eruption, then the devotion of everyone in the spiritual world will be upgraded simultaneously. And what is she saying? She is upset hearing these rumors of Krishna's divinity. Full circle. We're here ostensibly making propaganda in favor of Krishna conception. To enter a world where to express Krishna's divinity may get you a slap on the face. And say, where did this nonsense idea come to you? From the Jnana Shunya Bhakta. Who? Why do they love Krishna? Personally, his personality, not his position, not his majestic aspect. That may cause some pain in their heart to see those kind of things. Hare Krishna.